This is Ryan Shellenberger with MixtureOfSorts.com. I've got an interview with Casey Crescenzo, the lead vocals in the band The Deer Hunter. How you doing, Casey?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Sorry about all the hassle we had trying to get this set up and everything.
Oh, it's no problem. I just have a busted phone, so I'm hard to get a hold of sometimes.
Yeah, I hear it. Let me start with, I want to ask you where exactly you got the idea of The Deer Hunter and having a, almost epic, expansive project that supposedly is going to span, 6 different acts and CDs.
I guess it just started small and then got bigger as time went on, and more people got behind it. It really only started as me on my laptop making some music for fun while I was in the band The Receiving End of Sirens, and then over time and taking trips to my parents' house when we were off a tour and getting more serious about recording, and then putting a name to what I was doing, and that was The Deer Hunter. And then a little time passed, and I, after we did our first full-length record as The Receiving End of Sirens, I went home, and I thought I had learned a lot about recording from that process, so I tried to do my own record just for fun, and I gave it a story, and that was basically the demos for what was going to be Act 2. And I guess I was just really happy with what was coming out, that I kind of conceptualized a grand scheme that the only reason I really wanted to go that far was because at that point I never thought I would have to back it up with touring or anything else. It could just be something that I did for fun with no real consequence.
Yeah. I know you're not with The Receiving End of Sirens anymore, and I'm assuming that The Deer Hunter is your main project now.
Yes.
Are you happy with the way it's all going? Are you still in love with this, and you still want to keep doing it as far as you want to go?
I think it's hard. It's hard to really know how you feel when you don't get much time to reflect, because when you're in the middle of it, there's only really time to do what you think you're supposed to do, and there's barely enough time to judge whether you're doing the right thing or not, let alone really take a step back and reflect. So I can't honestly say exactly where my head's at because it's just been racing.
Yeah.
But genuinely, whenever I lie down at night, I don't feel like I'm doing the wrong thing. But
okay.
There's always more that you want to be able to do. I think that this is a really good vehicle for creativity for everyone who's involved. But it's definitely now at the point where I've been doing it long enough that I would like to see it pick up some momentum and move in one direction or another.
All right. I saw that you kind of the members of The Deer Hunter have kind of been jumbled a bit in the last 2 years or so with people coming and going and coming again. Does that really have any effect on you and how you're doing it, or do they just I know you're a band and everything, but do they? Does the influx of people change anything at all, or is it pretty much set to you and then it just helps you?
The only thing it really changes is morale. When you.
Oh, okay.
It's the momentum thing. It's when you're charging forward and then there's any sort of roadblock. Especially for Eric Cerna, who's been there from the beginning, and I. Every time there's some sort of confusion or drama or anything, a few years ago when 3 of the members left, it was never a question of whether or not we were going to be able to continue creatively, or whether the value of our music would be challenged in the future. I think it's just that it's like with any relationship, whether or not you should be questioning yourself, it forces you to question yourself, and that's what it really is. When it really is a problem, is when it just affects the morale and the overall, emotions of everybody, and it definitely gets confusing after a while, because now I was let go from the band The Receiving End of Sirens, but now the drummer from The Receiving End of Sirens is my manager, and the ex-guitarist from The Receiving End of Sirens is the bass player for the Deer Hunter. And 2 years ago, three of our members left, and it was a pretty dramatic happening for us on the inside. And one of those members now has returned to play keyboards and acoustic guitar. So it definitely, when time flies as fast as it does for everyone, let alone when you're in when you have a job like being a touring musician and you feel like you have missing time, it gets confusing when things like that happen. But I think that has taught me to kind of not necessarily glaze over it, but try my best not to let it get me, wound up, or not to wrap myself up in that, and that if people come and go, they come and go. But it's understandable that somebody would come and go, because the birth of this wasn't a group effort. The birth of it was a little bit maybe too introspective, and that's why maybe, from time to time people find it hard to parallel themselves or latch on to something that's is so embedded in somebody else's heart and mind. But on the other end of that, the people who are in the band now have almost been in the band for 2 years, aside from Eric, who's been here from the beginning. And the people who are here now are incredibly dedicated and definitely, if anything, excel, or accelerate the quality of the music, than if it was just me on my own learning curve.
Okay. With the Deer Hunter, I don't know how accurate this is, but I read that you're working on the Deer Hunter and the axe for that, but I heard that there was also kind of like a side project that you might have been working on that has to do with the colors of the rainbow. Yeah, I mean that's is that a side project that's getting any look at or getting worked on at all, or?
It's funny because for some reason, that was brought up a while ago. For the first time, it was just we had this little fan site, and I pretty much personally knew everybody on the fan site, so I liked to go on there a lot and just talk. And I was just kind of letting them in on what was going on with me at the time, and one of the things I was talking about was working on a conceptual series of really short records that was based around the color spectrum and then with black and white. So it wasn't like a press release, and it wasn't like a declaration of any kind. And then as time went on...
It seemed like it was. I was just kind of curious if there was anything else you guys are kind of working on.
If there's anything else we're working on?
That's where I was kind of going with it. I read that, and it didn't seem like it was a big thing, kind of just maybe a side project, when you got too overwhelmed with other things, you guys would kind of work on that or something. I didn't know if there was any.
I think we have a lot of stuff like that where, as with anything, even though the Deer Hunter likes to, as a band, we like to use as many genres as we can. You still don't want to force anything. So when you have an overflow, or when you have different things that you want to explore, or different inspirations that you want to utilize, and that they don't have a place in your main project. I guess that's what anyone would do a side project for, but I would say that we are a group of really intensely inspired and creative people, so there's a lot of things that we do that we'll never even talk about, that we just do simply for the fun of showing each other. And right now I'm working on our music video, and then I'm going to be going to the studio, and Andy Wildrick and I, and my brother as well, we own a studio in Providence, and we do a good amount of production and mixing, and that's even just the technical stuff that we do. So there's we're constantly busy with something.
So you seem really, really busy.